Have you ever noticed something strange? Every global catastrophe of the last century ends the same way. A financial collapse, more centralized banking authority. A terrorist attack, more surveillance. A pandemic, more digital control and emergency powers. A war, more global governance. The solution is never more decentralization, never more local autonomy, never more family sovereignty. It is always consolidation, always oversight, always control. That is not random, that is a pattern, and patterns are not accidents. Tonight, we are examining a formula, a structure of power, a method that does not rely on elections or persuasion. It relies on crisis, not necessarily creating it, but using it. And if you do not understand the formula, you will always think history is falling apart, when in reality, it is being rearranged. Before we go further, we need precision. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel was a German philosopher in the early 1800s. Hegel did not write a simple problem-reaction-solution playbook. His dialectic was philosophical. He described history as a movement of ideas: thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Conflict produces transformation. But here's where it changes. Later political thinkers, especially Marx and revolutionary theorists, operationalized that structure. The dialectic moved from philosophy to strategy. It became a method of historical acceleration. You do not wait for change. You create tension that forces change, or you leverage tension. And that distinction is critical. We are not claiming every crisis is fabricated. We are asking a harder question. Why do crises so reliably produce the same structural outcome? The mainstream version of history tells you this: events are random. Leaders react, institutions scramble, and expanded power is an unfortunate necessity. A bank collapses, we must bail it out. A terrorist attack occurs, we must monitor everyone. A virus spreads, we must suspend rights temporarily. The story always frames power expansion as reluctant. But ask yourself, when has emergency power ever fully rolled back? When has surveillance infrastructure truly dissolved? When has a crisis produced decentralization? There is something called the ratchet effect. Power expands during emergency. Then it locks into place. The emergency fades, the authority remains, and the public adjusts to the new normal. Case study: the Reichstag fire, February 27, 1933. The German parliament building burns. Within 24 hours, civil liberties suspended. Within weeks, the Enabling Act passes, democracy effectively dissolved. Historians still debate who set the fire. What is not debated is this: the crisis justified permanent structural power. That is the pattern. The dialectic does not require fabrication, it requires leverage. Crisis, fear, authorization. Here is where people become uncomfortable. Major global disruptions are often preceded by simulations: financial collapse simulations in early 2000s, cyber attack war games, pandemic exercises. October 2019. A coronavirus pandemic scenario was modeled publicly weeks before COVID-19 became global news. Does that prove orchestration? No. Does it show elite preparedness for global restructuring? Yes. Preparedness alone is not guilt, but preparedness combined with immediate structural policy rollout, that deserves scrutiny. Ask, why are sweeping solutions so ready? Why are legislative packages pre-written? Why does consolidation accelerate during chaos? Now we go deeper. This is not mystical, it is neurological. Fear triggers the amygdala. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for logic and long-term reasoning, becomes less dominant. Humans in fear seek authority. We trade future liberty for immediate relief. This is survival wiring. The dialectic works because biology works. Crisis compresses time. Urgency eliminates debate. Emergency suspends caution. And compliance feels like safety. 1 Peter 5:8, be sober, be vigilant. Sobriety is not just about alcohol. It is cognitive steadiness. It is refusing to enter the reaction phase blindly. Now, the deeper layer. Hegel believed history was the evolution of collective consciousness. Truth was not fixed, it was synthesized. But Scripture presents something different. 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 7, "For the mystery of iniquity doth already work." The mystery is not chaos alone. It is lawlessness used to justify counterfeit order, create instability, offer unity, create fear, offer peace. 1 Thessalonians 5:3, KJV. Open quote, "For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." Close quote. The ultimate synthesis is not merely political, it is spiritual. A global peace narrative built on submission, a unity narrative built on surrender, not necessarily imposed by force, but welcomed, because people are exhausted, and exhaustion is the final stage of fear. Let's address the strongest objection. You're giving elites too much credit. Governments are incompetent. History is messy. That is partially true. But coordination does not require omniscience. It requires shared incentives. Banks benefit from bailouts. Tech benefits from digital identity systems. Defense contractors benefit from instability. Pharmaceutical giants benefit from mandates. Governments benefit from emergency authority. Aligned incentives can produce dialectical outcomes without a mastermind. And incompetence at lower levels can coexist with alignment at the top. That is not fantasy. That is structural incentive theory. The next time crisis dominates every screen in your life, pause. Do not join the emotional surge. Ask, what solution is being offered? Does it require surrender of agency? Who benefits from the new normal? Are you being forced into a binary choice? The dialectic traps you in two bad options. Truth often sits outside the binary. The world offers peace through control. Christ offers peace through truth. One resets your rights, the other renews your mind. The formula only works if you react. Fear is the fuel. Sobriety is the resistance. You are not a spectator of history. You are the variable. Stand outside the reaction, and the dialectic breaks.